Good morning, students. Morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you are watching this. It's time for your English class. To begin this class, you can see that I'm holding this musical instrument. This is called a ukulele. I thought we could sing a song together before the class begins, and that will help us start off this class on a good note. Alright? I wonder if you know this song. Let's try and sing it together. Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just wanna lay in my bed. Don't feel like picking up the phone, so leave a message at the tone. 'Cause today I'm really not doing anything. I'm gonna kick my feet up and stare at the fan, turn the TV on and watch Peter Pan. Nobody's gonna tell me I can't. Oh, yes, I said it. I said it. I said it 'cause I can. Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to lay in my bed. Don't feel like picking up the phone, so leave a message at the tone. 'Cause today I'm really not doing anything. Nothing at all. Woo-hoo, 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 nothing at all. This song is called the Lazy Song by Bruno Mars. Have any of you heard it? Songs are used as an expression of what one is feeling on the inside. It's like a poem, but it has music to it. And today we're going to be studying something similar. Just like the song I sang, this poem is about a person who is relaxing and enjoying the weather under a tree. The poem is called Under the Greenwood Tree. And today we'll be studying and appreciating the central idea and value of this poem by William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, I'm sure you all have heard about him by now. He is one of the most famous poets and authors in history. Let's watch this video to understand a little more about him and find out about the other works that he has done. So let's go!
Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, on April 23, 1564. His father was a successful local businessman, and his mother was the daughter of a landowner. In 1582, William, aged only 18, married an older woman named Anne Hathaway. They had 3 children. After that, there are no records of the next few years of his life. Historians often refer to these years of Shakespeare's life as the lost years. What is certain is that Shakespeare and his family ended up in London, where he was working at the theater. William was part of an acting company called Lord Chamberlain's Men, where he wrote and played as an actor. His plays became very popular in London, and soon the Lord Chamberlain's Men were amongst the most popular acting companies in the city. Some of Shakespeare's early plays include The Taming of the Shrew, Richard III, Romeo and Juliet, and A Midsummer Night's Dream. Most of these plays were performed at the Globe Theatre, which quickly became incredibly popular. Regardless of the success of these plays, most of Shakespeare's greatest work was written in his late years, when he wrote masterpieces like Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. Shakespeare retired and settled in Stratford, where he died in 1616. William Shakespeare, often called the English national poet, is widely considered the greatest dramatist of all time.
As we saw, Shakespeare has written many plays over his lifetime, and one of the plays he wrote was called As You Like It. This play is about a girl who runs away from her uncle into a forest where she meets different people. The poem that we are going to be studying today is actually a song sung by a character in the play. You know, I remember studying As You Like It when I was in school and I loved it. If you'd like, you can read the story online or you can even watch a movie on it. But for now, let's look at the poem. As I mentioned, the poem is actually a song. So I'm going to play a video of a girl singing the song, and we can follow along with the lyrics that will come up on the screen. Let's begin. Wasn't that such a beautiful poem? I know there are many big words that you might find confusing, so let's dive into the poem and see what it means. Let's read the first stanza together. Under the greenwood tree, who loves to lie with me, and turn his merry note unto the sweet bird's throat. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy but winter and rough weather. Let me draw this picture for you. As you can see the photo in your books, there is a young man laying down under a tree. His name is Amian, and he is in the forest of Arden. He is enjoying his surroundings and is celebrating the fact that he can lay down under the tree and listen to the cheery song of the birds. He's calling people to him because of how calm the forest is. He tells his listeners that there is no enemy over here except the weather. There are no people that will fight with him. It's a calm, beautiful place. Doesn't it seem so wonderful? I can almost smell the forest and hear the birds myself. Can't you? That's what I love about imagination. Imagine you are there in the forest with Amons as he's singing this song. Now, in this first stanza, the word hither means towards. Hither is an old English word. You can see that the man is calling people when he says, "Come hither," or in other words, "Come towards this place where I am sitting." He's saying to come and enjoy the peacefulness of the forest. Students, do you see a rhyme scheme in this stanza? Let us first identify all the rhyming words. Tree rhymes with me, note rhymes with throat, hither rhymes with weather, and sea rhymes with enemy. Can you see it? So, what type of rhyme scheme is this? Tree and me will be A, correct? Because they rhyme with each other. So the first two lines will be A, A. The next rhyming words you can see are note and throat. So that will be B. So the first 4 lines rhyme scheme is A, A, B, B. And then the poet changes things a little bit. In the next 4 lines, we can see that the next 2 rhyming words are hither and weather. But do they follow the AABB pattern like the first stanza? No. Here we see hither in the first line, and so let's put a C at hither and then weather in the last line. So another C. In between those 2 lines, we see 2 more rhyming words. They are sea and enemy. So the next 4 lines of the stanza, the rhyme scheme is C, D, D, C. So the rhyme scheme for this first stanza is A, A, B, B, C, D, D, C. And that's the beautiful thing about poetry. There are no rules that you have to follow. You can write as your heart pleases. And that's exactly what our poet has done here. Let's move on to the next stanza. Who doth ambition shun and loves to live in the sun, seeking the food he eats and pleased with what he gets. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy but winter and rough weather. Let's take this 2 sentences at a time. Who doth ambition shun and loves to live in the sun? Here the poet is telling people that if you want to come and lie down with him under the tree, then they have to give up all their ambitions and be content to lie under the tree. If you are working in an office, you have to leave your office to come and lie down with the poet under the tree, right? But that means giving up on your big ambitions. You can't be in the world and work there if you want to come into the forest and lay down with him. At least that's what the poet is trying to say. And then in the next 2 sentences, he says, seeking the food he eats and pleased with what he gets. You see, children, the poet is telling us a very important life lesson. When you come into the forest, you are leaving behind all the luxuries of the world. You can't enter a market and get all the chocolates and chips that you want anymore. You have to be content. You have to be pleased with whatever you find in the forest to eat, which in all probability will be fruits and veggies. Who likes eating fruits and veggies? So that's what the first 4 lines of the second stanza mean. The poet is telling people that if they want to come and live this peaceful life in the forest, they have to give up all their ambitions in the world and be content with what they find in the forest. Then you see him repeating the same lines as the last stanza. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy but winter and rough weather. He's saying that it's worthwhile to give up all of life's luxuries. He's reminding the people that if they come towards him, they won't have any enemies. that they only have to protect themselves against winter and rough weather. I wonder how many of you will be able to do that today. That means giving up your phone or your tablets. No more watching YouTube videos or your TV serials. Would you be able to do it? In this second stanza, we again see the use of Old English words. Can you see them? The first one is doth. Doth means to do something or something that someone does. We also see the word shun. It's not an Old English word, but do you know the meaning of it? Shun means to avoid something. So, in that first line, the poet is telling us that the person will have to do something in order to live in the forest, and that he has to avoid all of his ambitions, as we've already understood. In the second line, you can also see that instead of using the entire word in, the poet just says I with an apostrophe. He is using poetic license here. This means that he is using the freedom he has as a poet to ignore the usual rules of language to give his poetry more flair or more style. It adds to that, oomph. It gives the poetry some punch. This stanza follows the same rhyme scheme as the first stanza. We see shun rhyming with sun. So that's A for the first two lines. Then we have eats and gets. That's B for the next two lines. And then the last four lines are the same as stanza 1. The rhyme scheme is C, D, D, C. So you see, children, the rhyme scheme of this stanza is also A, B, B, C, D, D, C. Easy to understand? So, here's the entire poem on your screen. Have a closer look at it. There are two important figures of speech that we can see. Can you find them on your screen? I've already given you a hint by placing these markers around the sentences that have the figures of speech. You have any idea? Let's click on one and look at it closer. So, the first figure of speech is repetition. You can see that the poet is repeating the words. Come hither, come hither. Why do you think he is repeating it? He is doing it for a poetic effect. The definition of repetition is a word or words repeated for poetic effect. He wants to add some drama to the poem, and so he repeats some lines. You know, even in our Bollywood songs, there are many times where repetition occurs. Can you think of any? One of the most famous ones is Muqabla. You remember how it goes? Muqabla, Muqabla. See how he repeats the same word twice? That is because he's doing it for a poetic effect. And the same thing Shakespeare is doing in this poem. Now, the second type of figure of speech. Here you can see the markers above the word weather. Can you guess what figure of speech it is? Let's click on it and find out. It is alliteration. Alliteration is when a sound is repeated for poetic effect. The sound here is W or W. Let's look at the poem. Winter and weather is an example of alliteration. There are some more alliterations in the poem as well. Let's find them. In the second line, here there is love and lie. Can you see? The sound that is repeated is L or L. In the second stanza, second line, we once again see the words loves and live. The sound L or L is repeated again. Are there any more alliterations in the poem that you can see? Here it is in the last line where it says winter and weather. So students, we saw the two types of figures of speech, repetition and alliteration. Let's move on. The main theme of this poem, children, is that life in the forest is much better than that of the world. You have no competition, no enemies. You are free to lie down and eat whatever you want and live in a calmness. You can enjoy the beauty around you and rest. This seems like the ideal life for the poet. But is that the ideal life for you? We often get so tied up in our daily lives. We want TV around us, or we want to play on the phone all the time, and we miss out on the beauty of nature that is around us. When was the last time you heard a bird sing, or watched the sun rise, or looked at the leaves dancing in the wind? This week, make some time to stop your usual activities and value and admire nature around you. This will help in calming you down. Wasn't this such a lovely poem, students? Like I mentioned at the start of the class, that this is actually a song from the play As You Like It. This type of poetry is called a symphonic poetry. A symphonic poetry is one that has music to it and is like a song. After listening to this poem, I feel like going and lying under a tree. Don't you? Okay, now let's quickly recap what we have learned. We're going to do this through a game. I am going to become a pilot, flying through the clouds. The question is going to come up on your screen, and you have to guide me to fly into the cloud with the correct answer. Sounds fun? Let's go. The first one. What does the word doth mean? Let's fly. Here it is. Fly right into the meaning. Great job. Okay, the second question. What does the poet say to leave behind? What does he say? Let's fly and see. Yes, you got that right. Let's fly into that cloud. And finally, the meaning of hither. What is the meaning of hither? This is an easy one. Let's fly straight into that cloud. Woohoo! We got all three right. Great job. Alright, on that note, for your homework, I want you to go outside and find a place where you can sit. It can be at a park, on a bench, or just outside your house. And try and write a poem about what you see around you. You can use the rhyme scheme of this poem, or you can use one that you want. Let's see what you can come up with. And I'll see you in your next class. Stay safe. Bye.